The U.S. Supreme Court has handed down another landmark abortion ruling, this one dealing with the so-called abortion pill, mifepristone. The same court that overturned Roe v. Wade in 2022 upheld access to a medication that was used in nearly two-thirds of all abortions in the United States last year. It can be used up to 10 weeks of pregnancy. Our quote is from conservative Justice Brett Kavanaugh, writing for a unanimous court and channeling legendary conservative Justice Antonin Scalia, saying, as Justice Scalia memorably said, Article 3 of the Constitution requires a plaintiff to first answer the basic question, what's it to you? Kavanaugh writes, the pro-life plaintiffs have no legal standing in this case because they cannot show how they are harmed by others using the drug. Gene, couldn't the same thing be said for doctors performing abortions, not just the use of the pill?
I think that's a little bit different, but I also think that the left continues to try to politicize this court and make it seem like everything they do is political, and that is simply not the case. This was not a decision based on the merits of that medication, but on the merits of the case. And on a technical issue, as he said, we can't have standing for every single person on every single issue. There has to be real standing to bring forth a case. They may end up making this drug illegal based on some other case, but not on this one because they didn't have standing.
Does this knock down some of the arguments from the left that President Trump, his former President Trump, stacked a far-right Supreme Court?
He did. And this court took away the rights of half
the abortion pill.
Took away the rights of half Americans not too long ago. Oh, great. They've made a ruling that people can have access to their medicine that's prescribed by their doctor. Why don't they allow the doctor to be involved in all of these decisions? We wouldn't have this ridiculousness that's coming. Look, the court may get some of it right because they finally are starting to pay attention to common sense, but never look past to where their ultimate intention was. They took away the right to choose.
Newly released secret recordings seem to add more fuel to the flag controversy involving Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito. He's been at the center of controversy over an upside-down American flag flown outside his Virginia home in the wake of the 2020 presidential election. The upside-down flag is a distress symbol and was adopted by supporters of Donald Trump's challenge of President Biden's election victory in 2020. The justice says his wife flies the flags, not him. Now, in a conversation recorded without her knowledge, his wife responds to pride flags, saying that she wants to fly a Sacred Heart of Jesus flag. Michael, should Justice Alito have more to say about all this other than, my wife's the one who flies the flag?
Well, I wish he would allow his wife to have the same rights that she used to have 3 years ago before he made this ruling. Look, these people have shown us who they are. There's nothing surprising about this court. They're extremists. I don't know of any everyday Americans who are out there hanging flags upside down. That sounds weird to me. And this is one of the most important people making decisions for our court. These folks have lost it.
Gene?
Much ado about nothing. This is his wife in a dispute with a neighbor flying flags.
Should he say more? Oh, no, she's the one who flies the flags.
I just think
He's a justice of the Supreme Court.
It's silly. I just think this is such a stretch. And again, it's the left trying to politicize the Supreme Court. And it's a silly thing. Let's look at the justices. They were vetted. They were voted upon by Congress. This is much ado about nothing. This flag thing, they're always coming up with something new to try to delegitimize the court. And I think it's harmful to the people of the United States and the faith that we have in our justice system.
Final thoughts are next. First, Bommarito.com Drone Fox gives us a nighttime view of St. Louis's tallest buildings, one of them, the Eagleton Federal Courthouse downtown.